In today's video, I'm going to answer the question, is it worthwhile in 2025 to become a reseller on eBay? Spoiler alert, in my experience, yes. Let's dig into some numbers in my business and see how Flippity Flipped is doing, even despite the fact that, as you know, I have a massive death pile. First, let me give you a little bit of a backstory into my business. When I was thinking about retiring, which happened almost a year ago in the middle of 2024, in the 6 months leading up to that, I was thinking about what am I going to do when I retire and I'm not working in my corporate job anymore. So I decided, let's try reselling. I had stumbled across some videos on YouTube and thought to myself, that seems like something that would be fun. So let's give it a whirl. So I actually started acquiring items in around November 2023. And of course, I was very busy still working full-time in those 7 months when I started shopping. Some stuff got listed, but a lot didn't. And as those of you who know, who've followed my journey on YouTube so far, I have a massive death pile. So let's get into some numbers. So I have acquired just shy of 4,000 items. That's items I have purchased specifically for resale. That's a fairly large number when you consider I have a death pile right now of 2,900 items. So that's shocking. But if I backtrack a couple of months ago before I had help, when Nathan joined me full-time for his summer break between university, that death pile was more like 3,700 items. Yikes. I've acquired 4,000 items, and I'm sure the question you're all asking now is, oh my goodness, how much did you spend on inventory that is now sitting in a storage unit and in piles around your house? Well, the short answer to that question is just a few dollars short of $10,000. So let's do the math. I spent $10,000 on 4,000 items, using nice round numbers. So my average cost per item that I have purchased for resale is about $2.50. So that's one of our starting numbers when we think about the business of reselling. Okay, we have established that my average cost, acquisition cost for my 4,000 items is around $2.50. Now the question I'm sure that's on your mind is, knowing I have the big death pile, how many items have actually been listed and how many items have actually sold? How can I afford to lay out $10,000 and not list most of these items for sale? I've broken it down by year. So in 2023, recognizing that was only about 2 months that I just barely started learning this business and getting into it. Of course, I was very enthusiastic at the time. I listed 83 items for sale in 2023, November and December. Those 83 items cost me $312. So that was about $3.76 per item, so under $4 cost at that point in time. And 43 of those have sold to date. A cost of $186 for those 43 items. They sold for $1,522, leaving me a net profit of $1,133. Per item, my average profit in those first 2 months of doing this was $26.35 per item. Was it worth it? I would say yes. As a newbie reseller, putting in sort of minimal effort because I only listed 83 items at the time, I think that was a fairly good outcome. Now, did that continue in 2024? As I mentioned earlier in the video, I was already planning to retire. So I was sort of doing two things at once. I was, fulfilling my last 6 months in my job before retirement, while at the same time going down this path of what I was going to do after I retired and figuring out if I was going to, how serious I was going to get about this reselling business. What happened in 2024 as far as listing? Y'all know I did a lot of shopping. That's how I got a storage unit, right? What I listed was only 184 items. So remember a minute ago when I said that in only 2 months I listed 83 items? That was, you know, being fresh right out of the gate, super passionate about it. Well, things were a little different in 2024 with, again, juggling, retirement, last 6 months of work. And then when I did retire, of course, I traveled and did all kinds of fun things that were not about reselling. But I still listed 184 items. Those items cost me $779 to acquire. So an average of $4.23 per item. So similar to 2023, around that $4 mark. Sold 92. So again, sold about half those items to date. Those particular 92 that sold cost $468 and sold for $3,574, leaving me a net profit of $2,607, which equates to an average net profit of $28.34. So that's even higher than it was in my first couple of months where it was around $26. Again, the money's there if I would just list the items, right? So now let's talk about 2025. In 2025, we have listed 737 items for sale. Now, I got to go off on a little tangent here and fess up to the fact that 97% of those items have been listed since Nathan joined the team 8 weeks ago. You know, doesn't take much to figure out that I wasn't doing a lot of listing in the first 4 months of the year. So those items, most of them, 700 and some odd, have only been listed for maximum 8 weeks since Nathan started in his job. 45 of those items have sold, and the cost of those 45 was $144. What did that leave us with? Well, we sold those items for $2,580, netting us a profit of $1,678. The really exciting thing about 2025 so far, aside from the big one, which is listing 737 items, the exciting part is that the average profit per item of what has sold in 2025 is $37. And it's not because we are simply cherry picking the best of the best items out of the death pile. Literally, we're taking a tote of items, whatever they may be. Nathan is just choosing whatever he wants to list. So it's not like this is, you know, skewed in any way towards the cream of the crop in terms of the items that I have acquired. So that was a lot of stats, but suffice it to say, there's money to be made. Next, I'm going to summarize for you what this all means in total. Let me hit you with some aggregate numbers. We've established I spent $10,000 on 4,000 items to list for resale. At this moment in time, when you're watching this video, we've listed 25% of those items for sale. We've sold, at this moment, less than 5% of my total number of items, the 4,000, and yet I have recouped 63% of that $10,000 investment. That is after selling fees, but of course, before any kind of income tax. So just throwing that out there. Of course, there's other business costs as well. So payroll, I have a full-time employee for the summer. That won't always be the case, but that is the case right now. So that's another expense to the business. You've got things like accounting, legal, your gas, you know, other types of expenses, cleaning supplies, what have you. But I think you can see there's a lot of potential there. So again, when I boil the numbers down in terms of that potential, having only sold, what did I say? 180 items to date. There are another 862 items currently listed for sale. 750 of those are on eBay. And most of those, as you know, are in the last 8 weeks. So they haven't been listed forever. They will, many of them sell. So there's, you know, $25,000 just sitting on eBay waiting to be sold. Then you add what's in the death pile, which is, again, reminder, 2,900 items. There's a lot of potential profit there. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that 75% of those items sell, once they're listed, of course, and they sell for a $25 average profit. That's actually lower than the average profit I've made in each of the last 3 calendar years that I've tracked. That would equate to $54,000 plus the stuff that's listed on eBay right now. So again, there's anywhere, you know, lots of range here, but there's anywhere from potentially $70,000 to well over $100,000 of potential revenue here in the items that I've acquired for that initial investment of $10,000, most of which I've already made back with the limited number of sales I already have. So looping back to the original question, is it worth it to become a reseller on eBay in 2025? I don't suggest doing it this way, the way I've done it, but if you are smart about what you buy, if you list it right away on eBay and you buy quality items and you have sort of a consistent pattern, which are all things I've lacked in the past, and look how well I've still done. So yes, the answer I believe is yes. Please let me know in the comments if you have any questions, if any of this seems too good to be true. Sometimes I can't believe it myself when I see how things are selling and when I see the progress that we've made in the 2 months that Nathan's been here to help. It's an exciting future ahead is what I think for Flippity Flipped. So thank you again for watching this video. I so appreciate all of you for tuning in to follow along. And as always, stay tuned and we'll see you soon with another video. Bye.